All right, so I told you guys we were having technical difficulties, so I guess you guys could not hear me. Let me know if you can hear me now. If you can hear me, thank you, Drew, for letting me know. When you can hear me, or if you can hear me, can you just let me know so I can continue, because I had to start over again because of some technical difficulties getting on the first time. So, okay, thank you, Teresa. All right. So I'll just start over. That's okay. These things happen. I'd rather you tell me than I continue and I can't be heard at all. All right. So if you guys have any questions while you're here, you could definitely add the questions as a comment. If you want to share this, definitely share it with anyone that you think can give some input or has any questions, etc. So I apologize if you guys could not hear me. We will start again. So basically what I was sharing was that these particular platforms are, of resources for couples. And it's important for wedding professionals to know as well what type of resources are being given to couples out there to help them plan their wedding. On top of that, it also keeps us in the loop as far as like why are brides or couples asking specific things. So what I was sharing was that I am listed on websites like Wedding Wire and I have had some couples find me through those resources. And I would say that there are certain reasons why couples ask certain questions that they're finding on particular websites, that as far as like what the websites are saying to ask vendors and things of that nature. And so I wanted to talk today a little bit about, using those resources as a couple, what they actually have on them, and just kind of dive into some other things that I've done. Everyone knows at this point, if you're in the wedding industry, that there is this article that's been going around basically representing the pricing for, certain vendors. So you're talking about photography, video. I kind of went through like majority of them, but just the normal vendor types that you would book for your wedding. And I found the site to be very interesting. So anyone who knows me, I go live every Thursday, and then Tuesdays I try to do like tips that are relevant. And so anyone that really knows me knows that I don't just come online and then just talk. Like I will research, I will dive in so that I have some insight on what I'm talking about. That's very important to me, period. So the first thing that I want to get into, and yes, I like have notes and everything that's written out because I wanted to really like make sure that I was bringing the value that I know I wanted to present concerning this topic. So skipping all of that, my little intro, the thing that's going on right now is that there is a pricing guide that's out, and Teresa, right? And in this guide, or on this guide, or whatever, however you want to use it, and I'll show you guys in a second, there's data, I should say, that is misrepresenting certain vendors, certain areas. I did speak to, I'm telling you guys, like I really do my research. I did speak to other vendors that are in different states. Like I'm in Florida. I spoke to some people who were in Texas and some other areas. And then I looked at some forums that featured other wedding professionals. And some of them, have their opinion on it. But there was a larger consensus that it was not as accurate as it could be for couples. And that's basically the position that I'm taking. So I want you guys to know that before I continue, so you're not like confused, like where am I going? The bottom line is wedding planning in itself is already stressful. So having misinformation or information that's not necessarily accurate can make, wedding planning even more stressful. And that's why I do like my show every Thursday to help couples. I answer questions, and then I do Tips Tuesdays, which is a little bit shorter, but it depends on exactly what I'm talking about. So today I am talking about how to use resources found on online wedding platforms to book your wedding vendors. So I'm going to start with the first thing, and that is basically what these platforms are for. And this is what I was saying before people said they couldn't hear me. So I apologize if it seems a little bit longer than expected for the intro. Platforms like these are basically for people who don't know anything or don't know a lot about weddings. So it's almost like a one-stop shop, or a place where they can just type in and search, I don't know, how many floral arrangements should you have, or what's the cost of XYZ and this, that, and the third, right? And so when you have platforms like that and couples don't have any other resources or don't know any other resources, it pretty much becomes gold for them. And what I mean by gold is like, that's it, that's set in stone. And what happens is couples will then take that information and go and say, hey, well, this is what I found, or kind of set their budget based on, well, that's what I found over here, so it should be that, right, per se. And so when you have those type of platforms, you have to be careful, and you have to know the best way to use them. And you guys know I'm always coming with education and helping couples to reduce stress. So I'm not coming with that approach. If that's what you guys are looking for, thinking that's not me at all. So that's what those kind of platforms are for. So here's my first tip for couples that have access to online platforms that may be giving data like pricing guides and things of that nature, okay? My first tip is, and I can type this out, but it might make me a little bit more delayed, so I'll try to do it simultaneously. So let me see if this works through. Okay, hold on. The best place, I'm going to put this on the screen, that's why I'm slowing down. The best place to find the cost of your wedding vendor is their website, or to inquire about it. So let me see if, I'll just make sure that this pulls up for you guys on the screen here, just so you know what I'm saying. It's probably going to be a little bit over my face, but it gets the point across. That is the best place to find the cost of what your wedding vendor is. So if you guys can't see that, let me know. I can always change the color, but I think you get my point. I'm saying it and I'm typing it for those that may need to see something with the background type of structure on it. Okay, so that's the best place to find pricing for your wedding vendor. The reason why I say that is because every vendor is different. And also on top of that, you may find yourself in a situation, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but where you can tell your wedding vendor, hey, like, this is my budget. I'm going to move it down off my face. Sorry. Like, this is my budget. And, or they may say, hey, okay, we can do XYZ for this amount of dollars, but we can't do it for that. Or you can have this collection, but you can have a modified version. Like, I can go on and on about different ways that conversation can go. But my first tip to couples is, it's okay to utilize online platforms. I'm not telling you not to, but for more accurate information, so you're not disappointed and you have better direction, the best place to find the cost of your wedding vendor is their website. So that's my first tip for you, okay? My next thing is looking at forums, okay? So let me just do this real quick. I think it'll come through. If you guys are, like I said, if you guys have any questions, you can definitely add them to the comment. I'll definitely appreciate that, or they're welcome, is what I'm trying to say. So the thing that can cause confusion when you're on forums that have like pricing guides or things of that nature is you will look at that information and think that vendor X cost this, or if that couple paid this, then that's what I should pay. And it kind of goes back to what I just previously said. That's not true. So for example, I'm just going to throw this out there. If a website says that the average cost of something is $800 and you contact, let's just use me for example, let's try to keep it simple. You contact me to shoot your wedding because I'm a wedding photographer, and you're like, okay, well, I would like my wedding shot, whatever, you give me the details, and you're coming to me with $800 is what you're expected to spend. You won't be able to book me for that. Like, that's not even my reservation fee. And that's the problem with like not knowing how to use online forms the right way, is that you can be budgeting and planning with misinformation. And then you kind of have to start over, or you can get disappointed because you can fall in love with the photographer or videographer's work, and then you find out you can't even get them because they're like way out of your budget and you didn't know. So that's why the first thing that I mentioned, which was to go to the photographer or videographer or florist, or I mean, I can go on any wedding vendor that you want to book. The best place to go to is their website to get the most accurate information. I'm sorry, my calendar is telling me that it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Okay, so the next thing that I have on the list as a tip for couples is what you should do as far as making sure that the platform that you're on is a reliable resource. So you want to research and connect with your vendors. So something that I found, and I'm going to show you because this is the one that's kind of like making a lot of buzz. So I'm about to share my screen. Give me 1 second here. Okay, you guys should be able to see my screen. Okay, so this was on a website that is basically telling people like the average cost of things. And like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm on Wedding Wire. I know a lot of people that are on Wedding Wire. I'm not going to call anyone out, but I wanted to help couples better understand how to look at something like this, how to use something like this, and how to really get the most benefit out of it, because you will be disappointed if you're using it the wrong way. That's just the reality. So basically, when you're looking at this, it's important to look at two things. Don't just focus like on the chart here. You want to actually look at the little things that's written here. And like they have here, like, you know, cost is based on consumer wedding reviews and pricing may vary. They're telling you where they're getting their information from. So more than likely, this information was like polled or surveyed from other couples, and that's where they got these numbers from. So I just happened to put Orlando because that's the area that I serve, and this is what numbers came up. Let me see. A comment came up from Teresa. I would like to put it on the screen. Hold on, Teresa. I'm trying to read the whole thing. I can read partial of. Okay, here we go. Okay, Teresa says, most couples spend, but that doesn't tell you the quality of work you get. Actually, I'm getting into that. That's why I thank you for saying that. I don't know if the overlay will show, but this is basically what Teresa was saying in her comment. If you guys could see it right here on the right-hand corner. She was just basically saying that it shows what most couples will spend, but it doesn't tell you the quality of work that you're getting. And I can agree to that. I definitely agree. So let's continue. So basically, when you're looking at these numbers, you know, you can't look at this chart and say, I'm going to go hire company bananas. I'm not mentioning any companies, so I just don't want to. This is, like I said, this is a teaching opportunity. I'm not here to bash. I'm here to educate because that's what I do, period. So if you're trying to book company X, you know, they may be more than this. One thing that I want to tell couples to do is, if you're using this type of resource, definitely use this chart over here. And I didn't see a lot of focus on this when this came out, as far as like using this type of resource to look for your vendors. So what this is going to do is, when you select your price point, so let's say you're between $3,000 and $3,900, then on this particular website, you would select find vendors, and then it's going to take you to vendors on this site that fall within that category of budget. Sorry, I lost my word. So that's important. So you don't want to just look at this chart and go, oh, well, I can call my, hypothetically, wedding photographer banana company, right? Or company X, and, you know, I'm going to be expected to pay $2,500 max and no more. Like, you can't look at that. Or or even to approach them with $250. Like it's not reality, and I don't want people to be disappointed when they're looking at a talented photographer or wedding vendor or whatever, and they're going in with the wrong mindset. So as I continue on here, I'm back. So as I continue, something else that I wanted to mention was, if you happen to not know like what the average cost of something is, then you need to, like I said, contact or go to your photographer's website. Most of them have, hold on one second, I'm looking at your comment, Drew. Most of them have like a range that says like, oh, couples spend between, this, that, and the third. And that will give you an idea. Look at different photographers that are, or videographers, or whatever your wedding vendor you're searching for, that are in the same area, and look on average on what they're spending. But going back to number one, the first thing that I said, the best place to get pricing is to go to their website or ask them specifically. So Drew says, why would a layman bride, let me bring this over because I can't really see it on the end. So he says, why would a layman bride or couple choose to spend more money if Wedding Wire says they should be spending less on average? I don't know if you guys can read that. Drew, the reality is, on one end, you really do get what you pay for. And I've talked about this on my show on Thursday, so I'm not saying anything different. That I have had couples who've come to me and said, Anisha, you're out of my budget, you're too expensive. They didn't book me, they booked someone else, and they got their stuff back and they weren't happy. So I think it goes back to what Teresa was saying, that you get what you pay for. At the same time, it's important to know that these online resources, they're pulling from, their own polls or their own surveys, and that is where this information is coming from. So I would say, don't totally scratch those resources for other things. There may be some valuable things there, but I think when it comes to spending your money, the best is like go to the horse's mouth, as they say, like when you hear something, like you heard it from the horse's mouth, like don't hear from everyone else. So go specifically to your vendors and just have a conversation. Like, we're normal people. Tell them when your wedding is, what you want, things of that nature, and they will tell you how much they cost. It's going to disappoint you if you're using a resource like this that's not really helping you, because they didn't ask me or another, as far as I know, they didn't ask a professional, these numbers. These came from reviews. It blatantly says what it came from. Some things that I did find helpful on it were like, what's covered in the pricing for vendors, but not everything is listed that is covered. And also, that's not a solid, like, not every company operates the same way. So there may be stuff in there that you think is covered or whatever that's not necessarily covered. They gave some great advice on tips, which is good, and different photography styles and stuff like that. But ultimately, when it comes to pricing, I think you as a couple or as a bride, whoever's doing the booking, you need to sit down and just specifically ask vendor X, how much do you cost? I would not go with a resource that is not necessarily pulling from an average from asking professionals. Now, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to like be rude or anything, but like, if this list was more so like wedding photographer cost guide based on what wedding professionals charge, like basically they asked or pulled a whole bunch of different wedding, different wedding vendor categories, then that would be different. I think that there would be a little bit more weight behind it, because it's coming from the people who actually do the work, and you can get a little bit more accuracy in what's being delivered. So that's what I want to share about that. So Teresa says, I used to tell my couples to pick, it's not showing your full comment here, so let me go over here. I used to tell my couples to pick their top 3 things that they were most important to them, and then they would allocate. Yes, I actually taught the same thing on a live, when I go live on Thursdays, I teach the same thing. Like, have your top, like, non-negotiables, and then figure out what they are, what's the cost. But it's kind of reiterating what I keep saying, that you still need to go back to the resource, the horse's mouth, as I'm saying, just for this live, to keep it simple, and ask them. So if you wanted to book me, Anisha, how much does it cost? Or this is my day, get the details of your day. And usually they'll help you figure out, okay, this collection or whatever, works best for you, etc. So that's the next thing that I had on my list to share. I would say another piece of advice for couples. Let's say you have a wedding vendor that you're interested in, and maybe they are outside of your budget. Then figure out like, can someone help you pay? I won't share like full details, but that was a situation for a couple that really wanted to book me. A family member of theirs booked me, paid, in full what I cost, and booked me for them. So you never know, family could help you, but I wouldn't approach vendors with like an average, and then you get disappointed. So I would say before you even call a vendor, it's okay to look at that guide as a guide, like as a resource to kind of give you an idea and direction, but I would still directly just go straight to whatever vendors that you're interested in and ask them, because they're going to give you their most accurate information. This guide basically came more so from what people have spent, and I think that's where the confusion is coming, because I do have couples who have found me on Wedding Wire, and I do have couples that I have brides that talk to me all the time because they know I do a show on Thursdays. They come to me all the time and say, I'm getting confused by what's being told to me over here. I'm getting confused by what I'm reading over here. That's why I go live every Thursday, to give a real wedding professional facts, things that actually like go down, what actually happens. Because that's really what's the most accurate information to give them. Drew says, I recommend costofweddings.com if I feel that this site is more realistic. I'll try to see if I can pull up your comment as an overlay. If people want to check out the site that Drew was mentioning here, you can see it on the bottom here. I've never been to it, but like I said, in the very beginning, if it's a reliable resource, go ahead and use it, but just do your research. Like, don't just stop on one thing. And, like I said, when it comes to budgeting, you want to have, part of budgeting is having as close to possible, if not accurate numbers. That's how you really budget anything. Okay. So I don't want to hold you guys off too long because I had to start over because of the audio. So the next thing that I want to point out when you're using that type of resource is you can't approach company A with what company B is doing. Every company is different. So I think when you have a resource like that, I do think that Wedding Wire means well. So I'm not doing a bashing session. Somebody else could do that. That's not my style. I think they mean well as far as providing this resource. I just think that it came off way too generalized, like, your photographer will cost this, your florist will cost this, your caterer will cost this. Like, I think it was just way too general for couples to really determine, like, okay, is that true? Is it something that, that is real accurate? And I think if it wasn't as general, I don't think that a lot of professionals would feel how they feel about it. And I really don't think that we're angry. I don't think that. I think that it's just misinformation, which will cause confusion. And so there's a shift that needs to happen as far as making sure that couples have reliable resources that are accurate, so that when they're doing their booking, they're not approaching it like, well, this website said that a photographer is supposed to cost me $200, so why are you $1,000? I'm just doing random numbers. I think that's the potential that can happen with something like this. So the next thing that I had is, I believe that a resource like this also is why couples can deal with sticker shock. Because like I said, if they're looking at something like this, or any resource like this that is basically telling you, oh, this is how much you should pay, or this is the average of what's being spent, you don't know why those couples put those numbers in. You don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like I told you, there could have been modifications of packages and different things going on, or they took something out, like they had a full collection, but they didn't get an engagement session, so that reduced the price. You don't know where the numbers are coming from. And that is why I know I see it a lot in different forums, or just having generalized conversations. I have friends that are planning weddings. They go through sticker shock because they're like, this is like not what I was expecting. And so it throws off the whole budget. And that's why I was saying from the jump, excuse me, when I first started, that the best place to find pricing for your vendors is to go to their website. Like, specifically go to their website. Most vendors have like a, either like an average cost, like not average cost, but like what their couples spend most of the time, or they'll have like, this is where we start. It's either one or the other, or some websites will have like different categories of their collections with the pricing. So it could be listed, you know, either way. So for example, and I've showed this before, so I'm not like exposing anything new. Let me share my screen back with you guys. So like, for example, this would be like what I'm talking about, to go to someone's website and actually look at what most couples spend between. This number is not coming from, you know, randomness. It's coming from what couples invest in and normally spend with company X. So I think before you even call a vendor, you need to be looking at like their investment page, their pricing page, whatever. They can use different names for it. Whatever name they're using for it, that's what you need to look at, because that's going to tell you like, oh, this is how much they cost. And then I would make a list, like kind of similar to what Teresa said, and I've said this in previous episodes. I would make a list and put like photographer X. This is, you know, I would put their reservation fee or whatever they call it, down payment, I don't know, whatever they want to call it. But I would put that, and then I would put how much the collection that you're interested in costs. Then go to the next person and use real numbers. You need to use real numbers when you're budgeting. You can't take anything from any resource that you found online. Even myself, with stuff that I do and the research that I do, I don't just take it online for face value. Like, I go deeper. So that's what I'm advising couples to do, is that if you're going to use any online resource, make sure you're doing your full research. So what I would do is, if I'm using something like the chart I just showed you guys, and I would go, I would look at the chart, and then I would say, okay, but I like this particular photographer or videographer, florist, hair, makeup, whatever. I need to find out how much they actually cost. Like, just keep it simple. Don't confuse yourself. And that's one thing that I have to, you know, but give a compliment about, is that, I'm going to show you guys my screen again, is on their site, you can actually go and just plug, I'm just going to hit random, like just go and plug in, find vendors. It'll take you based on the category that you're in. You may have to like change the distance of it, but I think it got rid of the state I was at home. Let me just do it again. But it'll find vendors for you, and then it'll show you like the different people and what their cost is. So, I mean, just for an example, I'm not calling any names out. You can read for yourself. But if I was to select these, their starting prices are not even what was on the chart as far as like how much they cost. So I think that that's a good example, that chart, you know, was just something that was developed to kind of help, I would say, you know, couples who are brand new, don't know anything about weddings, just to kind of get their feet wet. But at the end of the day, you as a couple still need to do your research, ask questions. If you can get on a video session with your vendor, that's probably better, because you could break the ice and have a face-to-face like conversation and get the information that you need. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, and I found this to be like really extremely helpful, and I did ask her if I could pull her, so there's no problems there, but Heidi Thompson, she has a really reliable platform. She helps to keep information with wedding professionals, and something that she mentioned that I wanted to share was that it can be like, the way she said it was, it puts focus on what other people spend and not on value. And I think that is probably next to just going to the photographer, videographer, vendor that you like. I think that's the next best thing. And basically what she's saying is, you don't know what you're getting for X amount of dollars when you're just looking at a chart and saying, hey, they're saying this kind of vendor costs this, that's all you should pay. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know the value and the quality behind it. And so when you're looking at something like that just kind of pushes everything together, you don't know why, or you don't know what results that, $1,000 photographer gave to that couple. You don't know what result, that $200 or $600 photographer gave to that couple. So I think that was like really well said. And that was partly why, on top of representing from a professional, side, a wedding professional, I am a wedding photographer, cinematographer. And I think just having someone speak from our side to say, hey, it's okay to look at this as a resource, but the best place to go is to contact us or look at our website specifically, to get as much pricing information as you can until you're able to, to talk with your specific vendor. So that's where I would leave it, guys. This was, like I said, Tip Tuesday. On Tuesdays, I come with just tips that are helpful. I went over how to navigate. I did a Facebook Live on how to navigate a photographer or vendor's website. I did that before, so if you need help with that, you can go back to that episode and check that out. You can find all the episodes under my videos tab on Unashamed Imaging Facebook. I just want to leave you with, get the numbers, the specific numbers that you need. Get the accurate information that you need to book who you want. So that way when you're calling company X, you're not like, hey, I expect you to be $800. You will be disappointed. I don't really know any other way to say it, and I don't want couples to have to experience that. From a wedding professional end, we are here to help you. We are here to let you know like what we can offer, how we can capture your day, and stuff like that. I'm sorry I keep like streamlining on the photographer end, but that's what I do. So just simply ask. That's really all I can say. I'm thankful for the professionals that came on and chimed in, Drew and Teresa. I think that you guys definitely brought forward some valuable, some valuable points. If you guys had anything else to say before I go, please feel free to add it. Hey, LaJoy. Drew did give, I'm going to try to see if I can pull Drew's comments up again. Let me see if it'll come up. He gave a website, costofweddings.com. I'm going to let me see if it'll come on this. Give me 1 second, because I don't know if you guys can fully see it. That's even worse. So let me just pull this off. But yeah, he gave that website, it's another resource that might be helpful to give you more accurate or realistic numbers. I've never used it, but if it's another resource that could be of value, then definitely go for it. So that is all I have to say. I would probably do a follow-up. I already know that I'm going to get a lot of questions. I'm prepared for it. But I just wanted people to know, couples to know, that do your research. No matter what vendor you're booking, just do your research, and the best place to find their pricing is on their website. So with that being said, I'm going to go. You already know, if you have any questions, leave it as a comment, and I will get back to you. Have a great day. Bye.